Hello, my name is Edward Pithers. I was born the 18th of September 1936. Having served in the Air Force for over 2 decades, I settled in Nottingham in 1973 and moved from Sherwood area to Gedling in 1995, and that's when I started to attend All Hallows Church. I found that my wife died in March 2000, and the church was very kind to me and sympathetic to my grief, and I took on going regularly then and doing a lot of work that they'd asked me to do, employing my knowledge as a retired electrician, doing pad testing, portable appliance testing, that is, of all the equipment that are in the church on a yearly basis to keep them within the law, because the law states that any building open to the public has got to have their portable electrical appliances tested regularly. So I helped the church comply with those regulations. Of notable successes, I was presented with a medal for my time in the area on the nuclear test programme, the nuclear test medal. And eventually, although chronologically 70 years out of date, we all got a medal, all those involved. And the medal was awarded posthumously, which meant widows and next of kin could also have it. So when it was announced by the government in February of 2023, I didn't get my medal until the end of October, and still had a lot to do, I'm sure. Alphabetical order, so that's P for Pithers, long way down, and I was surprised by the church that they'd organised the Lord Lieutenant of Nottinghamshire to come to the church and during the service and present me with it. But I'd already sent it to be adjoined to 2 medals that I already had. So we had to present 3 medals. Now, the first one, I was still serving when I received that. That's a General Campaign Medal for the Borneo campaign. There's Borneo class on it. I can't remember who presented that to me. It must have been at 32MU, whoever was the commanding officer of that unit, because that's where I went after coming back from Borneo. So I can't remember what his name was. But then 40 years passed, I think, and I was summoned by the British Legion to attend the ceremony at Grantham Barracks. Used to be an RAF station there, but it's now an army base instead. And the officers' mess there, and we were called forward alphabetical again to receive a medal from the Malaysian government, which is there. He's an officer.
This one?
Yeah. He's a military attaché from the Malaysian government, and I don't know if he did it on his own, but they went all around the UK presenting medals to those that were entitled to them, and in Grantham, they did everybody from the East Midlands that was entitled to it. And, you know, Nottingham, Leicester.
Yeah. Can I ask you, Ed, why did they leave it so late to present the medals to you?
Well, I think it was a change of government in Malaysia who felt a bit of a pang of conscience, I can only put it that way, that all these Brits went there to save them from, first of all, the communist dictatorship sponsored by China, and that was after China itself turned communist, tried to spread it all the way in the Far East, and they had to be fought, but they was victorious, mostly British, but help from other Commonwealth, New Zealand and Australia, being in their sphere of influence, they wanted to help us. So we sorted those out. There was a period of peace, and then Indonesia started to pick on Malaysia, and this involved the island of Borneo, which is a big island, right? 80% of it, called Kalimantan, that's already part of Indonesia. But they had a President Sukarno who was had been friend to the West to start with, but he was subverted and converted to be a communist. And then he was a friend of Russia and an enemy of us, you know. And the first trick was to try and grab Brunei, which is part of air part of Borneo. And Kalimantan was 80% of the island of Borneo. Only 20% was part of the British Commonwealth, part of Malaysia. And Brunei was the one that had the oil, so they went for that, you see. And but the Sultan was old and, well, he was not all that old, but ill. But his son, who was only 19, took the presence of mind that these Indonesians would come across the border. The first thing they did was attack the small prison that there was there, because there's not a lot of crime, and let the criminals out, and to make space for British and Australian expats and their families, bung them in this prison. And but Sultan of Brunei's son, who was still a teenager, he managed to get to the radio station before these Indonesian troops got there, and managed to get out an SOS, really, basically, which was picked up by air people in Singapore. That's 600-700 miles away, and we're dead lucky. It turned out we had a bit of luck. We had the white aircraft there that had flown out from the UK, a VC-10, and as a transport aircraft it was pretty good big kit at that time. This is the mid-60s, and we had to use it. There was a small SAS detachment there, and they was able to do a halo. I mean, to non-military people, you've got to explain these things. High opening, low opening, high altitude, low open. In other words, you jump out of the aircraft and free fall, right? Until you get to a safe height, usually about 4,000 feet, something like that, and your parachute will open automatically. And then you'll drift the last little bit. You can't open your parachute high because you'll freeze to death before you get down. It's so cold up there. And it gives any enemy lots of time to put a bead on you. You want to open that at the last minute and get down among them, you know, quickly. Which they did. And the SAS are quite ruthless. Probably, I'm talking about the use of knives, and they soon killed the Indonesian troops that were actually on the airfield. but they'd tried to stop it. They knew we'd react, of course, and they had a lot of vehicles that they confiscated off people, parked them all along the runway to stop us landing there, you see. Well, these SAS guys got down there, killed a few Indonesians that were there, hot-wired these vehicles and drove them to one side. And then that was all timed. The next arrival was Air Beverleys, which is a transport aircraft, take about 150, 180 men on each aircraft. We had a squadron of them there, Andy as well. And they'll land and reverse the propellers, the pitch on the propellers on the four engines, and stop within a few feet of their wheels touching the runway. And they can fly, already have the ramp down before they land. And out come Highland Light Infantry, Piper and all, and killed the rest of the Indonesians. Apart from a small group that tried to escape out down the coast road. It was about the only road. There was very few roads there, no railways whatsoever, very few roads. Most transportation is on the waterways and rivers, on sampans, you know, paddled years ago, but most of them in recent modern times have outboard motors. And they tried to scarper down the coast road, but see, they didn't do their homework. We all had a lot of useful kit there, on site as it were, in theatre as they call it. And the old Rusty Bee were there, as the sailors call it, the Bulwark, HMS Bulwark, helicopter carrier with a battalion of Marines on, with enough helicopters to take them wherever they wanted to go. And they flew these body of Marines ashore and waylaid this road and killed the rest of the Indonesians while they were trying to escape on this road. Wow. So we wiped the floor with them. But that was only the start. It carried on for 3 years, just sporadic warfare. You could go, there's my neighbour, wonder what she's up to. Anyway, it might be weeks with nothing happening. Then all of a sudden there'd be a shootout, you know. And we ended up losing 115. Well, as I say, I was made very welcome at All Hallows Church, and there's a congregation near the time when I started there, but there's Jean Lamb when she started there. That was early times for her. And there was Mark Beach was the rector when I started there, and he conducted the wife's funeral and did a good job. And as I said, I did pat testing and pretty anywhere else really, all sorts of things. Teamed up with Ted White because he does a lot of work, you know, structural work. It all comes down to the early retired, newly retired. You've retired, but you've still got a bit of strength left in you. Too late now for me, but over 20 odd years, I was able to do all sorts of jobs for the church. And that railing all the way down the side, on the roadside, it was very rusty. We sanded all that down and painted it. Varnished the benches, and also the 3 lampposts weren't working in the churchyard, and one of them was vandalised. Well, we managed to source a replacement of the actual lantern part at the top of the post, and one guy, he's passed on now, but he used to be a regular, I forget his name now. He had a welding kit and he welded that on, and then I wired it up, and it fed from the church's electrical system, but one of the church wardens used to go to switch it on and then switch it off again every day, you know, and so I thought that was a bit of a pain for whoever was concerned, especially they were kept after me. You'd make a good church warden, do you want it? No. I'll stick to doing my maintenance, and I'll cure that problem for you. And I'll fitted a timer in that circuit, so all you've got to do is set the timer, and possibly readjust the timer twice a year, along with the rest of the clocks, as they do every 6 months. And that's all the church warden has to do. Reset it every 6 months. Summertime, GMT. So that's a lot of hassle. And I've mended boilers and stuff like that. Career in the RAF, well, 3 times, 4 times overseas. Sewers operation, briefly, 3 weeks. 58 Squadron, photo reconnaissance. Nuclear test program, Australia, and Christmas Island in the Pacific. That was 76 Squadron. Originally a bomber squadron, but we had a special task of collecting samples of radiation from each test. And air crews were required to fly through the nuclear cloud to take samples for the scientists to analyse, land, and we were given pods which are cigar shape, but about that diameter and about that length, to fix to the wings of each aircraft, and that was the apparatus that collected the samples. See, and when the aircraft landed, scientists, meanwhile we were in working dress, where it's 40 degrees all the time, you know, shorts, sandals. That's it, slip to the waist, shorts, sandals on her feet, and that's it. Right. But meanwhile, scientists come, all in white overalls, and they had these lead boxes, the lead lid, and, you know, and these big long tweezers about that long, and they'd fish into this pod, take the sample out, which was a piece of, how can I put down as blotting paper, but thick. You understand what I mean? Be about 1/8 of an inch thick. Pop it in the lead box and slam it closed and take it away. That used to get flown back to the UK to Aldermas, the nuclear test research facility in Berkshire. And that's what we used to do. Meanwhile, the whole aircraft would be radioactive, particularly the engines. And I was badly affected once with I had to have all my hair shaved off, right to the skin, to my scalp, because my head was radioactive. And that was because I had to change a thermocouple. Now, when you talk to people who are not engineers, they don't know what you're talking about, but that's an electrical device that measures temperature. Right? And it used to hang down in the jet pipe, like that. Well, to change it, it's a two-person job, really. Somebody's got to be on the outside of the engine and loosen the union nut, and somebody's got to be inside the jet pipe and poke it back up and you'll pull it, bulk on the outside, the top, pull it up. You put the fresh one in. You've got to locate it. The guy inside's got to locate it. Then you'll tighten the fresh one up. You see, and they do the appropriate wiring. So you change the thermocouple. That can be done when the pilot suspects that he's not getting the correct temperature reading. That probably will be the thermocouple. And then changing it will probably put the job right. See? Now, it's important you don't let his engine overheat. If he's getting too hot, he's got to throttle down. But he's got to be told that by a temperature reading in the cockpit. And that comes from the thermocouple that's in the engine. If it's a twin-engine aircraft, that was the aircraft that we were using for that job, the Canberra there. You see.
Let's put that in the shop.
That's while we were on the nuclear test programme, on the Canberra. You can't see their pods on that one, but that's probably not on part of the same squadron. It could be anyone. We had about 5 or 6 squadrons of them,
Right.
whose main job would have been bomber gotcha for World War III had kicked off. But 2 squadrons were earmarked for this work, the nuclear test programme. 100 Squadron first. All their aircraft became radioactive. I don't know how their personnel survived or what happened to them, but they're more or less out of commission, certainly as regards their the original function. So we were sent to replace them. 100 squadrons pulled out and 76 squadron in their place. Where I was serving 76 squadron. There's documents there telling you I was exposed to radiation, alpha radiation, during 1958 to 59. I was involved for 2 years of this programme, and came back. Australian summer, got back in time for Christmas, which was their midsummer. I came back and went home to Alton on leave, and you don't know, they sort out where they want you. So your new orders are sent to your home address, or the address that you're going to go to while you're on leave, telling you where to go. And it was Scotland. So I went from an Australian midsummer
It's a Scottish winter.
to Scottish winter. But about 3 weeks in between in Hampshire, of course. It was cold there, but not as cold as Scotland. And I thought, well, a good plan would be have a lady friend to cuddle up to. And so I met the wife, you see.
Ah.
She was Scottish, and she was serving in the Air Force herself. She served 1952, the same year as I joined, to 1960 when she resigned to marry me. Now, her job was clerical work, and she was a corporal, as I was. We were both corporals, same rank. I was a team leader on electrical engineering on an aircraft, and she ran the purchasing office. And that's how we met, because I needed part for an aircraft.
What's her
And
name?
it was her that got it for me.
What was your wife's name?
Irene.
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 Yeah.
Yeah.
Irene Beatty is
Yeah.
her maiden name. Her father was a seafarer, merchant navy. And he was a good old guy. I got on well with him, my father-in-law. And he had an horrific World War II on the Arctic convoys. He said he used to have to get a sledgehammer and knock the ice off the ship, because it'd make the ship top heavy. You had a good chance without the enemy attacking you, tipping over because they're top heavy. They had to be all around the superstructure, knocking this ice off with a hammer all the time. Form again, you know, and they had to go. And they weren't allowed to fraternise with the Russians at all the dockyard staff. And they wouldn't, they'd chuck all the Russian people out to the canteen before the Brits could go in there and get anything to eat. Because the Russians didn't want to be contaminated by capitalism, you see.
Okay.
Even though we're on the same side against the Germans.
Yeah.
They still didn't like us, didn't trust us.
No.
We didn't trust them.
Definitely not.
But Churchill could see they were good. As soon as Germany were defeated, they were going to be the next problem. He could see that straight away. But unfortunately, the Americans couldn't, could they?
No, that's true.
No.
Okay.
But we had dropped to third place in the war, in the Second World War, I'm afraid. I lost my oldest daughter. It's freaked out my other three children, the other two daughters and my son, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
We lost our big sister, you know.
Yeah.
And we used to look after them, I've got to say. You know, she was a big, strong girl. It's such a shock. She had no history of cardiac troubles. She just dropped dead of an heart attack in the house. And she had 4 sons. 2 of them were at home at the time. And yeah, it was a shock to all concerned. So that was what happened this year. But the church handled it well. Jean Lamb did the service. Now, going back to my late wife, she didn't agree with baptism. She said, it's lying something onto a baby that's got no choice. If people want to be a Christian, they should wait till they're older. I said, well, we do that as well, we have confirmation. That's equivalent to that. She said, well, that should be sufficient. That was her view, and I went along with it. And but then the other daughter, that's the one on the far right with the long hair, she married a Catholic lad, and that's above it. He served in the RAF, was a sergeant, and that's his leaving do when he left the Royal Air Force. He served longer than me, 27 years he served, and hardly 23 years. And anyway, she became a Catholic to be like her husband. And I got 5 grandchildren that were Catholic. Out of 13 grandchildren, 5 of them were Catholic.
Okay.
And I've got great grandchildren that are Catholic as well. And I've got 3 great grandchildren. No, 4 now. I'm going to keep up to date. And I've got 1 great grandson as well.
Wow.
If you look under there, you'll see. And then, as I say, couldn't get on back in aviation without relocating down to London. So I got on the railway, and 18 years at Derby Locomotive Works.
Okay.
maintaining locomotives.
Right.
If I could do the electrics on an aircraft, I could do it on a
Of
locomotive.
course you could. Yeah.
And they realised that. I only had a bit of it was all good natured actually. Bit of a argument with the foreman, my boss. Only once, and it was all good natured. But we used to have, excuse me,
Sorry.
there was it'd be chosen among the oldest members, right? The battery house, right? Locomotives have batteries. They have to be maintained. And the drill was take the batteries off the locomotive onto a pallet. The forklift come take it to the battery house. And the battery house was manned by a skilled electrician, but tended to be elderly, near retirement, less able, which I wasn't at that stage. I got in and out of trains from ground level, not from the platform, up the steps into the local, in and out, do what had to be done. But what they had to do, get very mucky, the batteries, is to steam clean them. Then the electrician would inspect the links and change any links that were deteriorated. And you had to treat it with grease after that. And then put them on charge them up. All that should be done by a skilled plumber. The labourer there, that only job was to clean them. And he's supposed to. It involves a lot of water. Steam cleaned a lot of batteries. Puddles everywhere. He should have done, squeeze it all down the drain. But no, he left it, and there was a sheet of ice there instead, because it was frosty winter time. Along come the skilled electrician, as I said, elderly, near retirement, because that's the kind of guys that get that job, running the battery house. His legs went under and damaged his caucus up in there. Off work for about 5 weeks while they healed up, you see. Now, Gaffer wants a replacement skilled electrician to replace this guy. He was awful injured, you see. So he looks at somebody else that's getting on a bit. I want you to go in the battery house. It'll be about 5 or 6 weeks. And I know I'm bored of the job. It's terrible. That's not me. I'm a troubleshooter. That's what I've been all the time. In the Air Force before the railways ever heard of me. Anyway, I said, I talked to Colin. I said, I don't know anything about batteries. And he goes, oh yes. Didn't make any comment. Cleared off. Up to the headquarters and pulled my file out. Your aircraft electrician don't know about batteries, what a lot of people only. He's calling me. He come back and said, you were aircraft electrician in the RAF, weren't you? I said, yeah. You know all about batteries, don't you? I said, yeah, I had to admit it. I said, I was just trying to get out of the job because it's so boring. He said, well, somebody's got to do it. And you're the next oldest one.
Oh,
And we did the job to older blokes. I said, but I'm not proud yet. I'm not still jumping in and out of these aircraft anytime, these locomotives anytime you want me to. I'm not. No, I said, well, you've got to do it. So that's it. So I admire your keenness to get on to more complicated work. Well, what have I been doing? And doing it all right, haven't I? Yeah, highly commendable. They gave me a good write-up when I left there. I went to East Midlands Electricity after that, doing substations.
Okay.
I worked for them for quite a while.
Okay. Thank you, Ed. That was brilliant. That was absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much. That really was good.
As far as the church, they helped me with my bereavement.
That's important.
Doing all that work, like the cat testing and other work, lighting and stuff.
You want to? It sounds as if you want to be involved.
Well, I'm not able now. You see.
No, but you did.
I did. At the beginning,
which,
yeah.
That's important.
Oh yeah. I wanted to be in. Well, it helped with my grieving process because I even lost a wife. You see.
Yeah.
And also, round about the time retiring as well, you don't want to sit on your backside when you retire.
No, we don't, do we?
No, we do not.
No,
No, we don't.